Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I wasn't really expecting to do another video today. I already did one this morning. You can check it out here if you're interested. Anyway, hot on the heels of hardware 4 being leaked and finding out about that, and version 11.3 of the FSD Beta software being available, there was breaking news today from NBC News about, as you can see right here, about Tesla recalling nearly 363,000 vehicles over full self-driving software that could lead to crashes. So anyway, 363,000 vehicles, I would guess would be the exact number of vehicles, well, within the nearest thousand of vehicles in the United States and potentially Canada, although I think probably just in the United States, that are currently using full self-driving beta. So that actually might give us a pretty good indication of almost exactly how many vehicles are currently driving full self-driving beta, which means that people have either purchased it or are renting it. You know, they have a subscription of like $200 a month that they're paying for. So anyway, the NBC News article says one thing. I'm also going to look at the NHTSA report and see what that has to say. And hopefully we will be able to determine the reality of what's going on here. So anyway, the technology remains under investigation by NHTSA. And that is actually true. The technology has been found not to be at fault for some accidents and things, but it's also still under investigation for other things. So there's stuff going on here. Okay, so, and actually we can get more exact here if we look down here and let's see, increase the size of this guy. Okay, so Tesla is recalling 362,758 vehicles, which may be the pretty much exact number of vehicles in the United States that are currently driving full self-driving beta, because a version, we don't know what number version of software this is. A version of its, quote, full self-driving software may increase the risk of crashes, according to a notice Tesla sent to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration on Wednesday. So interestingly enough, this is a voluntary recall. I want to point that out. This is not something that NHTSA has required Tesla to do. This is something that Tesla is voluntarily doing. Tesla sent the notice to NHTSA, which is a requirement when you're going to do recalls. Also, recall is a very, very difficult term for this. This is going to be an over-the-air software update. This is not like 362,758 vehicles have to be taken into a Tesla service center and, made changes to. So it's not a hardware recall. It's an over-the-air over-the-air software update. So it won't require anything crazy like that. For most of us, it'll just be something that we get an update to. It'll say like, hey, download the update, install the update. We do all that stuff and we have the new version. Okay, anyway, according to the recall document, the FSD's beta release, so again, not the autopilot, but the beta release, may cause affected Tesla vehicles to act unsafely around intersections. So that seems to be the main area of issue here. For example, it said the software may cause the vehicles to travel straight through an intersection while in a turn-only lane. So in other words, it picks the wrong lane and it keeps going. And I have had not incidents exactly like that, but mostly where it doesn't get into the lane it needs to, and then it has issues. But anyway, that is a potential problem. Continuing, enter a stop sign controlled intersection without coming to a complete stop. That's interesting because that's something that they corrected a while ago. So I wonder if that's actually part of an earlier version of the software, because you used to be able to do rolling stops and now you can't. And if anything, the car is actually a little too passive about it. It actually comes to a stop and waits too long. It's really annoying as a driver to have to wait that long for the thing to come to a complete stop, sit there for a second or two and continue on. But anyway, and then last, or proceed into an intersection during a steady yellow traffic signal without due caution. Now, the car is reasonably aggressive about going through yellow lights, but I have never had it go through a red light. So I think it knows exactly how many seconds a yellow light will last in the United States. And I believe it matters like how fast you're driving, right? If you're in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, it lasts a certain amount of time. 35, it lasts a longer amount of time. A 45, it lasts a longer amount of time. A 55, it lasts a longer amount of time. So anyway, let's say it's like 3 seconds for a 35-mile-an-hour zone. The car, I think, has a stopwatch, right? The light turns yellow. The car knows how fast it's going, and it like goes like, okay, I have 55 meters to go to get to the intersection. Will it take me more than 3 seconds or less than 3 seconds? If it's less, it keeps on going. It feels a little bit aggressive to us humans sometimes, but I have never had it drive through a red light. It has always been yellow when the car went through. But anyway, they may be dialing that back a little bit and allowing some safety margin. So in other words, if the light turns yellow and you're passing under it, obviously it's not going to stop. That would be ridiculous. It would be very dangerous. But it might be one of those things, if the yellow light is 3 seconds and it knows it can make it through in 2.8 seconds, it might now have like a 1 second buffer. So it might stop anyway. It might go like, okay, I'm going to slow down and stop. Even though I could make it through, I'm going to back it off. So that would be my guess as to what's going on here. But clearly it's pretty reasonably aggressive about going through yellow lights. In addition, it said, the system may not respond sufficiently to changes in posted speed limits, quote, or not adequately account for the driver's adjustment of the vehicle's speed to exceed posted speed limits. So this one's interesting. I actually have a feeling this is a downward adjustment. This happens. So let's say you're in a 55 mile an hour speed zone and the posted speed limit goes down to 45. The car kind of coasts down to 45. It doesn't aggressively get down to 45 miles an hour, which not only is unsafe, of course, if you don't prefer that, but can also lead to traffic tickets because, of course, you could be exceeding the speed limit. And a lot of times those changes in posted speed limits just coincidentally happen where speed traps are. So if that's the case, you could look at a situation where the vehicle might be not slowing down fast enough to avoid a ticket, and or it might make the occupant, the driver, uncomfortable because you're now driving too fast for conditions. So anyway, I have experienced that. It's very, very slow about slowing down. So anyway, that seems a reasonable concern. As a remedy, Tesla is releasing free over-the-air software update to users. So it doesn't really say exactly when this is going to happen. And then the recall affects 2016 to 2023 Model S, Model X, 2017 to 23 Model 3 vehicles, and 2020 to 23 Model Y vehicles. So basically anybody who's driving full self-driving beta on any of the vehicles that has hardware 3 in it. The recall comes a week after the National Transportation Safety Board said it found no evidence that Tesla's autopilot driver assistance feature was engaged at the time of a fatal 2121 crash in Texas, which did happen. Okay, and then looking at this is the US DOT saying that they are in receipt of David Kim's letter to them. So the important part of this here is that we need to look at this part here, the problem description and the consequences and the remedy. That's, the rest of it you can read if you're interested. But basically the problem description is Tesla, notice not NHTSA, but Tesla is recalling certain blah, blah, blah models, basically all of them with full self-driving beta, as far as I can tell, or those pending installation. The FSD Beta system may allow the vehicle to act unsafe around intersections, again, such as traveling straight through an intersection while in a turn-only lane, entering a stop sign controlled intersection without coming to a complete stop, it's probably a rolling stop sign kind of thing, or proceeding into an intersection during a steady yellow traffic signal without due caution. So again, I've explained all of those kinds of things in the NBC article. In addition, the system may respond insufficiently to changes in posted speed limits or not adequately account for the driver's adjustment of the vehicle speed to exceed posted speed limits. So again, it's not going to, as far as I can tell, this isn't going to lock you in. Like if it's a 55, you have to go 55 because at least in the United States, no one actually drives the speed limit. If you actually drive 55 in a 55 zone, people get really mad at you. The expectation is that you'll go somewhere between 5 and 10 miles an hour above the speed limit. And even police cars, if you drive by 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, they're not even going to blink at you. And even police cars drive over the speed limit. So everybody drives over the speed limit in the US. I know there are countries where that is not the case, and if you're from that kind of country, just understand that's the way it is in the US. Everyone exceeds the speed limit by some amount, but there is a comfort setting that you can set yourself. I think the bigger deal is when the speed is reduced, the car doesn't reduce speed fast enough. So that is probably something that does need to be adjusted. Anyway, the consequences are FSD Beta software that allows a vehicle to exceed speed limits or travel through intersections in an unlawful or unpredictable manner increases the risk of a crash. Now, they do not say that they actually have crashes. They don't say that anything has happened. It increases the risk of a crash. Again, the human driver, this is L2 autonomy. This is something where a human is in charge of this car. So the person is, if the car tries to go through from a left turn lane in through the intersection straight, that's the person's fault for allowing the car to do that, right? Now, again, it shouldn't do that, but it is ultimately the person's fault. So anyway, just to be very, very clear about this, this is, Tesla's recalling this. It's a voluntary recall as far as I can tell, but the human being is definitely still in charge of the car. And then the last thing is that the remedy, which is that Tesla will release an OTA software update free of charge. Owner notification letters are expected to be mailed by April 15th, 2023, which is 2 months from now. So, and then you can contact Tesla or you can contact whatever. So what is going on here? Well, number one, we've got 2 months for this recall to be done and to have these letters mailed out. My expectation is that this is just going to be version 11.3 of the FSD beta software. We'll have these corrections rolled into it. If you don't know, FSD beta 11 has been, oh my gosh, it's been rumored for months and months and months. Since somewhere around Thanksgiving of last year, it was supposed to come out. So at this point, I think we have 11.3 was just released today, probably just to employees. So hopefully within the next couple of days, we will see the OG beta testers get their versions of the software and begin rolling that out and testing it. And then hopefully we will see over the next couple of weeks, it will go to wider and wider release. So if that happens, then they should be comfortably within the 2-month deadline to do the recall. I think there's probably going to be a lot of very breathless, titles to articles and things. So, I mean, it says it could lead to crashes, right? Here we go. Tesla recalling vehicles over full self-driving software that could lead to crashes. So, I mean, to NBC News' credit, that's reasonable. It's not terrible as a headline, but I have a feeling there's going to be breathless headlines of like causes crashes, terrible software, things like that. It sounds to me like this is not as big a deal as people thought or are going to probably say. If you remember, there used to be California stops. There was like a setting that you could set so that the car would roll through stop signs at intersections. That was gotten rid of because Tesla, NHTSA got on their case and started investigating it. And then as far as I remember, Tesla actually voluntarily removed that feature. And they removed the boombox feature at one point. So probably what they're going to do is make a more aggressive slowing down when you adjust speed limits. It'll more aggressively get to that speed limit. It will hopefully adjust for the lane, That seems like the most egregious problem is being in the wrong lane and trying to go through, being in a turn lane and attempting to go straight through the intersection. So that one they definitely need to fix. And then the rolling stop sign thing is just probably, it's going to be even more annoying. It's going to stop for longer before it actually continues on through the intersection. So it's probably going to be annoying, but following the letter of the law. Again, just like the speed limit things, people rolling through stop signs in the United States is kind of de rigueur. I mean, that's what people do. And if you don't roll through a stop sign, you piss off people behind you. But what are you going to do? So, they have to tread this thing. So as far as I can understand it from what's going on here, we're looking at what will probably be touted as an absolutely huge thing and a recall on 363,000 vehicles, and it's going to sound terrible. This is just the normal beta process. They're making adjustments. They're correcting things that are not correct at this point. I forgot to mention the yellow light, but again, they'll probably just build a bigger buffer in so that if it's expected that it will be within 1 second of the light turning red, it will probably slow down as opposed to attempting to get through it. So anyway, a lot of this stuff is not particularly dangerous. I think the most dangerous thing would be trying to go straight through the intersection when it's in a turn lane. That could actually lead to accidents. The slowing down speed thing, probably not going to lead to accidents, but could lead to traffic tickets. I have a friend who always drives Uber, and he's just like, oh my gosh, the thing never slows down fast enough. I'm going to get a ticket one of these days. So anyway, that will probably not be such a safety critical thing, but more like a convenience thing for us drivers. So we don't have to pull it out of full self-driving and slow down manually ourselves and re-engage it. So a lot of this is pretty minor. The turn, the turn lane going straight across is the most major thing. But again, this is something that they can fix. So no, Tesla is not having to get rid of full self-driving beta. I don't see anything that says that. They have 2 months to enact this. It's an over-the-air software update, so cars are not going to have to go in. They should address, hopefully, all of these issues. In fact, probably the reason why This letter was actually put out on February 16th, or probably the day before that he sent it in. But anyway, the reason that probably is there and the reason they're doing the voluntary recall now is because they know that version 11.3 of the software addresses all of these issues. So this is probably a pretty big nothing burger. It's something that is going to be blown out of proportion, which is why I wanted to get ahead of this and talk about it. But it's just a normal course of events for the beta software, and everything should be fine. Don't worry about it, folks. They're not taking away your software from your cold, dead hands. So anyway, I hope this is useful. I hope people enjoyed it and liked it. If you do, please do like the video so other people are served that by YouTube. And of course, consider subscribing for more of this kind of content. And in the meantime, I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.